Smarties. I have my special helper here. This is my son. This is Regan. He's helping me look for treasure. Say bye, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
I'm not your dad. I'm the mom.
Bye, Mom.
So, we're going to pirate read a story today that's called Ruby Finds a Worry. Can you imagine what I'm worried about? I have been on house arrest for so long that I'm turning into my father 30 years ago. Oh my gosh. I have a mustache. And my hair. I need my stylist. I want my blonde hair back. Okay, just kidding. Seriously, we are going to be looking for some treasure. And I do want you to pirate read. Because remember, all the best writers read and read and read and read. And what they're always doing is they're looking as closely as they can into the text to mine for the treasure. What's the treasure in this book? Mining for the treasure. The key to being a good writer is to first be a really good reader. And there's so many interesting things to read. It's pretty hard not to find something in everything we read that has some treasure that we can lift from it. Now, I brought a little friend today. I actually bought this book for one of my very special students. This is Andy's book. But then the virus came and we kind of got sheltered to home, so I'm borrowing Andy's book. And I'm borrowing Andy's owl. Yeah. See him? He says, who needs someone to listen? Who? This is Shrink. Shrink's job is to help make a worry get smaller and smaller and smaller till it completely disappears. So some of the treasure we're going to mine for in this book isn't just about what we would write about, but it's also how we can survive when scary and hard things come that concern us deeply. Shrink. We'll come back later, okay? Thanks, Shrink. Now, let's read Ruby Finds a Worry. Story by Tom Percival. Tom also did the illustrations, but he was inspired by a class. Now, this book is published by Scholastic, and as a teacher and as a mama, I love Scholastic. A lot of wonderful titles that I love to look for on Amazon are often not as expensive through Scholastic. And when I order them in my children's classes, their teachers get special points so they can build their library, and when I order them in mine, I get points so I can help build my own children's library and buy books for my own students. And all the books that live in my house will eventually live in my classroom. This book is dedicated to the Peregrines class at Gastroville Community Primary School from 2017. Thank you for all your great pictures. So some of the inspiration of this book came from a class of children. So that tells me that a class of children could help write their own book. Ruby Finds a Worry by Tom Percival. This was the cover, and here we see the main character, Ruby, and we also see her worry. Here's the title page. Same words as on the cover, but the illustration is a little bit different, so it gives us another window into Ruby's life. We see Ruby with her what? Her family. Maybe they're on vacation. Maybe they're just having a special weekend together, doing stuff we can't do right now because we're all sheltered to home. Ruby finds a worry. Ruby loved being Ruby. She she loved to swing up high. And she loved to explore wild, faraway places. Sometimes she even went all the way to the very bottom of the garden. Ruby was perfectly happy until, dun dun dun, one day. That's called a cliffhanger, a page turner. We're going to flip it and find out what happens. She discovered a worry. It wasn't a very big worry. Oh my goodness. It's in the garden. In fact, it was so small that at first Ruby hardly even noticed it. But then the worry started to grow. Each day it got a little bit bigger. That is bigger. It's almost as big as she is. It just wouldn't leave her alone. It was there at breakfast, staring at her over the cereal box. And it was still there at night when she brushed her teeth. The funny thing was that no one else could see Ruby's worry, not even her teacher. So Ruby pretended that she couldn't see it either. She tried to carry on as if everything was normal, but it just wasn't. The worry was always there, stopping her from doing the things that she loved. Look how big it is. It's now bigger than her. Ruby wondered if the worry would ever go away. What if it didn't? What if it stayed with her forever? Ruby didn't realize it, but she was doing the worst thing you can ever do with a worry. She was worrying about it. Now, the worry was enormous. It could barely fit in the kitchen at dinner time. It filled up half the school bus. And it took up whole rows at the movie theater. The worry became the only thing that Ruby could think about, and it seemed like she would never feel happy again. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. Ruby noticed a boy sitting alone at the park. He looked how she felt. Sad. And then she noticed something else. Something hovering next to him. Could it be a worry? It was! Ruby realized that she wasn't the only person with a worry after all. Other people had them too. She asked the boy what was on his mind. And as he told her, the strangest thing happened. His worry began to shrink. Then Ruby did the best thing you can ever do if you have a worry. She talked about it. As the words tumbled out, Ruby's worry began to shrink until it was hardly there at all. So, both of their worries were gone. Finally, Ruby felt like herself again. Of course, that wasn't the last time she ever had a worry. Everyone gets them from time to time. But now that she knows how to get rid of them, they never hang around for very long. You can see why shrink would be very helpful, huh? You know, shrink, I'm kind of worried like Ruby that I'm going to end up staying like this like forever. I don't want to be like this forever. I want to go back to my classroom and see my students. I want to go to the beach and the park and see my friends. I want to give people hugs again. I want to go out to eat. That was so fun. I love that. And go to the movies. I like going to the movies. And I love Legoland. And we like to go to the trampoline park. We like Big Air. We haven't been there in like forever. It was another season when we went. It was winter. Now it's spring. It might not even be summer till we get to go again. I'm kind of worried about that. But you know, when I talk to Shrink, I feel a little bit better about that. Even though Shrink isn't saying anything, Shrink is just staying here with me. And when I rub his tummy, it makes me feel a little better too, because it makes me realize that probably I won't ever have to have a real mustache. And maybe I won't have to have my dad's hair. In fact, I might just still have my own hair. Well, imagine that. So, our book, Ruby Finds a Worry by Tom Percival, was really helpful to me because it gave me the good idea that I just need to talk to someone sometimes. And sometimes they don't even need to say anything back. Just if I can get my good ideas out or my troubles out or my worries out and I feel listened to, especially by someone like Shrink. I'm so glad Andy let me borrow Shrink and Ruby finds a worry. I hope this helps her because sometimes she would have a worry when she would come to school. And the worry would get so deeply stuck inside of her heart, it would squeeze her fear so hard that sometimes she couldn't even talk. It would choke her words in her throat. She'd And sometimes it would squeeze the sadness right out of her heart, and it came out as tears right down her face. I've had that too. So shrink maybe will help my friend Andy. I know shrink helped me. Thank you, shrink. Now, as a pirate reader, I want to look back at the text at something that I could do today in my own writing. What I really like is that a worry is an idea. It's a thing. It's something in my head. It doesn't really have a form. But Tom Percival gave this little scribbly creature that kind of looks like a monster, a little worry monster, gave it a form. So as a writer today, or in one of the days ahead, you could take an idea that doesn't actually have a form, and you could give it a form, just like this. You could draw something that represents an idea that's something we only feel or only know, not something we actually see. And you could give it a form that we could identify, and we could all say, I know what that is. So now if I have a worry, I could just use my yellow highlighter or a yellow crayon, and I could scribble, and I could put a little face on it, and I could crunch it up, and I could do some deep breathing, and I could talk to my friend Shrink, and that would help my worry go away. But when you are writing, if you're writing about your own idea, maybe you want to draw a picture that has to do with your joy or your happiness, or maybe you want to do a picture that shows your fear or your anger. And you could have it in a thinking bubble or actually have it as a character, because even though it's just an idea, worry actually became a character in this book. So as a writer, you can make your own ideas take on a shape or a form. Just like when we read books and the animals talk and act like people, you can take ideas and you can give them a form, and then they can act like people too. The other thing that I liked is, we've seen this in other books. See how it's colorful? Colorful, colorful. Oh, but when she meets the worry, look how some of the color starts disappearing in the book. And then, as the worry grows larger, the color disappears further and further, because it's coloring her day. And then at school, there is no color on this page at all. So that's a powerful tool that you can use as an illustrator to help your reader know how to feel and how to read your text and how to understand your message. The pictures carry a message and the words carry a meaning. So you want to connect them in a way that helps your reader feel what it was that you were feeling when you were creating your story. And then color little by little starts to come back. So you can find another idea to pirate out of this book, but those are the ideas that I found. Those were my treasures when I was pirate reading. I loved sharing this story with you, and I look forward to sharing other stories on future videos. Until later, here's some stories. And some pride, because I just think that's important. Everybody should have some pride. Put it inside. And here's some love. I love you. Love for later. And until we meet again, Super Teacher.